the BNI group combined with the social media, consistently posting, showing up on lives, the clients just started coming in. Another client led to another. I built a website that helped with, all the Google SEO things with the presence. And it just, word of mouth, greatly helped my situation.
You're listening to The Successful Bookkeeper with your host, Michael Palmer. Listen each week as inspiring guests share their secrets of success to help you increase your confidence, work smarter, and build a business you love. This episode of The Successful Bookkeeper is brought to you by PureBookkeeping.com, the proven system to grow your bookkeeping business.
Welcome back to the Successful Bookkeeper Podcast. I'm your host, Michael Palmer, and we have a special two-part series with Kentucky-based bookkeeping business owner Ashely Chamberlain. Part one, she'll share her inspiring business journey that hopefully provides a spark for you on your path to success. All right, let's get to that conversation now. Our guest is the owner of the Kentucky-based Chamberlain and Good Company bookkeeping firm. She is also a mom of two boys. Ashely Chamberlain, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
It's great to have you. And, Ashely, I would love for our listener to get to know you. So please share a little bit about you, your business journey leading up to this point.
Sure. I'll try to keep it short and sweet. I know journeys can be lengthy. So
I love stories, though. So take your time.
Yeah. So my husband and I are originally from kind of small town, Athens, Georgia. And we moved here in 2018. We moved to Louisville, Kentucky. And, we at the time had a barely 1-year-old and a 6-year-old. And we thought, let's just start fresh somewhere. I have a couple of family members here, and I had a job offer. I say it was coincidence, but, it was kind of planned to be around family. And I had a job offer at a large company here in Louisville at the Yum Center as an accountant. And at the time, felt like I was at a peak. So I thought, wow, this is big. I'm going to work in corporate America. It's going to be amazing. I can't wait to have a cubicle. So we moved the family here. My husband's a musician and a truck driver. So he could play music anywhere and drive anywhere. So he was game. And we packed up the kids, headed over here. I started working in corporate America, quickly realized that the atmosphere was not necessarily what I thought it would be. It wasn't super fun to work 60 hours a week, not really able to see my kids very much. I had a feeling of just dread every single day, knowing I'm leaving before everyone's awake and getting home well after dinner. And then tax season was way worse, if that was even possible. And so quickly realized I wanted to shift into small businesses. And so I started working for a construction company, and I loved it. I loved the atmosphere, the feeling of working with family. The hours were a little better, but I was still feeling a little sense of I'm missing out on other things. And I didn't really know what that meant at the time. I just felt like I was missing out. A big turning point for me was I got off early one day, just randomly, went to pick up my little one from the pre-K that he was at the time. And the teacher looked at me and said, "Who are you here for?" Because they didn't know me. They didn't know who I was. They had no idea who I belonged to, who belonged to me. And as a mom, there was this insane amount of guilt and shame that came with, they don't even know who I am. So I quickly, obviously told myself, you're the worst person ever because they don't know who you are. But the kind of person that I think I've always been is, how am I going to fix this? So while working in this corporate construction environment, I started my business, and it was, it was humble beginnings. It was just me doing all the things. quickly started growing. So I was back to working about 60 hours a week. And once my business was able to bring in similar income, then I made the leap. And so here we are today.
Wow. So that is interesting. I'd love to hear more about that leap. Like, what were you thinking leading up to it? What was, it's a leap. It's a jump. Was it terrifying? Was it, let's hear about it.
Yeah. All of the things. My husband is, I think what TikTok would define it these days as the golden retriever husband. So, super loyal, super supportive. He's also a musician. So he loves adventure, creativity. So when I came to him and said, I think I want more out of life than work. I think I want to be a little more present. And by no means do I think starting a business suddenly means you have all this freedom. Quite the opposite sometimes. But I wanted a schedule that I could control a little more. And I didn't see a way out of what I was doing. And at the time, at the construction company that I was working for, I found myself in a controller position, which in the accounting industry, as you know, a controller position is something that you work up towards. And in my mind, I always thought I would be maybe late 40s, 50s by the time I got that position. But because of my awesome ambition, whatever it was, I was 30 years old as a controller. And so I felt this huge sense of what next? I'm 30 years old as a controller for, multi-million-dollar construction company, multiple locations. It seems like that was supposed to be the prize. And I thought, what am I going to do now? There's nowhere for me to really grow in with this company. And I love the company. So I thought, what would be next for me professionally, but also personally? I had small kids and I had to think, what am I going to do if I stay in this position forever? Is this going to be fulfilling? So I thought, what am I good at? What am I actually good at? And eventually led to, I'm just going to start this business. So I started small with a few clients I did on my own, but then I hired very early because I realized I was getting burned out working all of the hours at the construction company and then coming home and doing similar things. It was worse. I was not in a better position. It was worse. And I started, dreading phone calls with clients. I started feeling like I never had a day off. So I hired very quickly. And that allowed me to grow faster because they were doing a lot of the things that would take me days because of my schedule. They were getting done in hours. So hired. And when I got to that point of, wow, I can't sustain a corporate job working, if you're a salary position, you're working 45 plus hours and a business. So got all my ducks in a row. And waited until my kiddos were about to go into the summer so I could have a little more, free time's not the right word, have a little more flexibility with what they were doing and put my notice in. And now the company is one of our clients. So now we do CFO services for them. So the leap, I think I was very, very fortunate that I didn't feel like I was closing a door. I was just choosing a different door. I left that one open and went a different way. And now they're one of our clients. The relationship is so great because it's so familiar. And I have one of my team members working on it. So I took the leap of saying, I don't want to belong to you for 45 plus hours a week, and just said, I'm going to have to see how this works out.
We'll get back to the interview right after this word from our sponsor. Do you chase after your clients' receipts, enter data manually, and lose information? Dex Prepare is a bookkeeping automation software that removes unnecessary tasks from your workflow, giving you and your clients more time to focus on what matters. No more manually inputting transactions from receipts and bank statements. Simply scan your receipts and bank statements into the Dex Prepare app. Thousands of accountants and bookkeepers are using Dex every day, and it's transforming their lives. Why? Their bookkeeping is more efficient, more accurate, and above all, they're improving their relationships with their clients. Excited? Get free access to Dex Prepare now at dex.com. Thank you for hearing from our sponsor. Now let's get back to the interview. Very interesting story. And so what did it look like when you made that leap? You took them on as a client. I'd like to hear a little bit about, the growth. Where did you get your clients? How did all of that look?
Sure. So at first, I didn't have the time to go to every lunch and learn, every networking meeting that my city has to offer. There is a plethora of networking opportunities here. The Chamber of Commerce, there were BNI groups, all of the opportunities, but all of those were during the day. So I started with heavy social media, and I started kind of just posting about, I'm doing this thing. And I sent out hundreds of handwritten letters. Wow. And I wanted to stand out in a world that feels like there's no new ideas, but I wanted something to be memorable. So I remember I went to Hobby Lobby and I got these like really cool looking envelopes, put my stamp on it because I had ordered a stamp, and just wrote these letters and said, hey, this is what I'm doing. If you have any need for this or know someone, let me know. And so that came with the social media and the letters. A few clients started coming in because, you're planting the seed and then you have to wait for it to grow. So I planted a lot of seeds. And then a couple of months into it, when I hired, I joined a BNI that was online. It was a hybrid. So it was once a week you would meet. And then the rest of the meetings were online. And I told at the time my boss that I'm going to take one day and work from home. So on that one day, I would go to the BNI meeting or I would do the Zoom. And the BNI group combined with the social media, consistently posting, showing up on lives, the clients just started coming in. Another client led to another. I built a website that helped with, all the Google SEO things with the presence. And it just, word of mouth, greatly helped my situation. So it was terrifying. So like I said, my husband was a musician, so he just thrives in situations where people are looking at him. But for me and most accountants, like I choose death. Like I don't want a lot of people looking at me, but really putting myself out there and going live every single week to just give tips and tricks and talk about what I know really stood out because the accounting industry has this kind of stigma that we're all wearing, button down collared shirts and slacks with, thick frame glasses for some reason, and we don't want to be seen. So it definitely stood out that there was an accountant saying, look at me. So it helped.
Wow. I really like that story. I think it's interesting. A couple points from it. The idea of writing a handwritten letter. It's not often you actually get letters anymore. First of all, well, we still get mail, but all of it is totally printed, and the only handwritten ones I see are like photocopied, and that it's like, well, this is just a handwritten digital piece of marketing. These were handwritten in special creative envelopes. What results or comments or what happened with that? And you can see my cat here just jumped up on my lap, so don't pay any attention to this cat.
Huge animal lover. Mine are somewhere around here.
Yes, well, this is a very friendly cat, but he doesn't stay around very long.
Yeah, that's most cats. I'm done here.
Yes.
The letters, along with the aesthetically pleasing thing. So it was a brown kind of envelope, and I hand wrote the address because in my mind, I was really trying to get in the mind of a business owner or whomever opened the mail and what would make them keep something. And I know personally, like you said, if it looks printed, I'm like, nah, junk. I don't even read it. I don't even look at it. I can feel in my bones I don't need it. So handwriting something makes you think, oh, is this a birthday card? Like, is this something special? So the handwritten letters, I had my husband doing the stamps. We had an assembly line of it. And then the inside letter, handwriting something, just a sense of vulnerability is what I really felt. Like, here I am. I'm not a huge corporation, but I provide personal relationships with people who want to get a hold of their money, a hold of their books, or get rid of the tasks that are maybe not needle moving tasks. And I put my business card in there, and it felt like if they don't need it, at least they're going to say, oh, I remember that letter I got. And what ended up happening, I also, not only did I send them to business owners that I wanted to work with or kind of my industry that I feel really strong in, I sent them to a lot of CPAs. So I sent it to probably 100 to 200 CPAs in my local area. So Southern Indiana, Louisville. And I said, hey, I know as a CPA, you are really good at some things, but you don't want to do other things. If there are bookkeeping and admin tasks that you don't want to do, call me. And I said, you're QuickBooks girl, because I felt really strong in QuickBooks, but I wanted them to remember a specific detail of something they might need or something that might come up. And so when I did that, I had mostly CPAs reach back out, which led to a lot of referral relationships. So I would say after sending hundreds, I would say I got at least 40 to 50 phone calls setting up referral relationships.
Wow. And so it's been, that piece alone has been successful, very successful.
Oh, for sure. For sure. I always, I recommend whenever people ask, like, how do I get clients? How do I get clients? I think, what kind of client do you want? If you want to work only online, then sending a letter to me would not be sending the right message. For me, I really love working one-on-one with people. I love being able to meet in person. While the majority of my business is online, there are the locals that I get to go into their shop. We have a pizza restaurant. I get to go behind the scenes and see how a pizza is made. And that letter to me was saying, hey, I'm a person. I want to have a personable relationship, not, just plugging numbers in and moving on. I want to get to know you. I want to get to know your dreams. I want to know what keeps you up at night. And that was the message I was trying to send.
Very cool. I love it. I love a lot of it. And not everybody can write that many letters. Your penmanship must be very good. And your cramps in your hands.
Yes.
Your husband was massaging your hands as you're writing and putting stamps on. I couldn't do it. People wouldn't be able to read the letter. My penmanship is not there. But the spirit of what you're doing, I think, is important. It's not necessarily like, for someone that wants to grow their business, you can do nothing or you can do something. And something is better than nothing. And even if something is not the right thing, it's still better than nothing. And I think writing those letters creates a sense of purpose and gets you very clear about what you're communicating. So just that. But now yours was a really well-executed campaign. It produced a lot of results. And so people listening, our listener right now, there's something you could do. It's always something. There's so many clients out there, but they need to know who you are. And you said it. It's like, what kind of client do you want? What do you think is going to reach them? And you also had really thought out your specific message. What type of client? What am I going to say to them that's going to have them resonate with me? So some really great nuggets there from that specific campaign. And then now this is a recurring thing. You're still benefiting from that, even though you're not writing letters anymore. You still benefit from those letters that you wrote, from those relationships that were built. So it's like an annuity that gets built. Fantastic.
Yeah. And it's, if you're not doing something every single day to let people know who you are, then you will not see growth. And for me, that was so scary because I thought, okay, I have the website, I have the business cards, people are just going to start coming in. And when I didn't see them just magically coming in, I had to start thinking, what can I do that might feel uncomfortable, but will eventually feel like it was worth it? And every single letter that I wrote, I felt like I was actively growing my business. Even if, I didn't get hundreds of phone calls back, I know the numbers. I know there's going to be some kind of ROI. And for me, I felt like I was doing something. even the posting, the showing up lives, it was exhausting. And in the beginning, I just felt like every single post, I thought, who is going to like this? This is such a weird thing to talk about. Accounting is not generally a sexy topic. So I had to think, how can I make this interesting? And a lot of my lives in the beginning, I would just pull out props. I had a tiny little microphone, and I would, speaking in the microphone, I would wear like different kinds of hats and sunglasses and something that people would think, what is going on here? And to me, that was better than, it's accounting.
Right. So you brought
whatever
a
I
little
can
fun
do.
and creativity to it.
Mm-hmm.
That's the other piece that's really interesting. We talked about the old school writing the letters, which, sometimes the old school stuff is where the activity is. Now, the online bit, this was Facebook. You were doing Facebook Lives off of your business page. Is that what you were doing, or your personal page?
I was doing it on my personal page initially, just because I felt like I had a more of a reach. And it felt like, yes, there are a lot of online businesses, and is this where I want to go? But even if they saw a live and they called me from the live, I knew, okay, this is where I need to meet this business owner. They'll scroll through Facebook and see a live and watch it, but they're calling me, which tells me they're more of an in-person person. So just really dissecting the client's movements. I don't take engagement as a measurement of success at all, because the people that generally need help are not the ones that are, responding to my call to action. If I say, hey, comment below, this is something you need help with, it's never the people that actually need help. They're the ones going in the DMs and they're like, hey, saw your video, because they don't want the whole world to know they need help. So something to keep in mind.
Right. Interesting. Yes. And so that started, and do you still do the lives? Is that still a piece of the work that you do? So you do lives now going on, and here's my cat. He's now chewing on the microphone wires, which this one is a bad kitty cat. Get out of here. He chews computer cords. Not good.
Oh, no.
One day he's going to chew the wrong one, and he'll be fried kitty.
Yeah, it'll be fried kitty.
Fried kitty, not good. So so you still do the lives. Tell us about that. Like, this has been, how long have you been doing it now with Facebook?
So I still do the lives. I go live every Wednesday, usually from 4 to 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And I do it every single week. If I miss a Wednesday because life, I always come back sometime that week and do it. I've been doing it for about a year now, and every single week I talk about something different. And sometimes it's about a promo I'm doing or something that's going on behind the scenes. But in the beginning, it was just the basics. It was, what do they need to know right now? Okay, it's November. Let's talk about, end of year stuff. It's December. Let's talk about 1099s. Like, I just kind of tried to think about what they wanted to hear or needed to hear at that time, and I just riffed on it. Sometimes I had notes, and I would have my iPad kind of set up next to the camera, and I would look at my notes, but sometimes I just found myself talking like I was talking to a friend.
Mm-hmm. Very, very cool. Again, it's the newer version. Well, it's not that new anymore, but social media, I guess I'm dating myself there, but it's very popular, and not that many people do it. Even though there's a lot of people doing it, not that many people do it when you look at the numbers, right? So lots of opportunity there. And again, it's a very personable way to get people to know who you are and really engage the people you already know in many cases, to make sure that they are educated and know, and those people might refer you to their friends that they've never seen a video from you, right? So you're getting out there, you're getting known, and that's the building blocks to actually doing business with someone. I'd love to hear a little bit about, so we've talked about, those are sort of your growth areas, and now let's talk maybe setbacks. Like, as you grew this business, what were some of the things that set you back? Anything in particular?
Oh, so many. I mean, I think the roller coaster that I'm going to be presumptuous and say every business owner experiences is About every week, I think I'm just going to burn it down to the ground. And then the next day I'm like, never mind, I love it. So a lot of my setbacks, I would say, were entirely mindset. Now, sometimes it felt, when I hired before I was ready, it felt like, okay, I'm not really making any money, but this is what I need to do right now. A lot of the stuff was mindset, though. The money thing, I just feel like there's always money to be made. And that sounds really privileged, but if you are very focused on bringing cash in, there are a lot of ways to bring cash in. So a lot of the times, I remember the end of the first year I was in business, I thought, what am I going to do to get a big cash injection? So I feel like I actually made something this year. And this was a few months after I started. I had a few clients, but I started offering cleanups. And so I would say, you don't have to have, a reoccurring business with me, but everyone that doesn't have a bookkeeper has some kind of cleanup needed. And so I said, I will go into your QuickBooks. I will get you ready for the beginning of the year. And that was a huge cash injection. But it felt, before I started getting responses, I thought, what am I going to do? I can't own a business and feel like I'm not making any money for myself. Why own a business? And so that was a big setback, is feeling like, how am I going to profit? If I keep getting clients, I have to hire. And this was before I quit my job. And so I thought, I have to hire to maintain the clients and customer service I want. How am I going to make money for myself? So offering the cleanups helped. But the biggest setbacks were always mindset. It was that imposter syndrome. When I would show up on the live, and it wasn't like I was getting 1 million views. It wasn't viral, but the people that would show up, if anyone ever asked questions, it made me feel nervous. Like, am I going to look or sound like I know what I'm talking about? Because sometimes communicating it is harder. When you're doing it, you feel confident, but talking about it, like, I don't want to say the wrong thing. When I first joined a BNI, I would get so nervous every single meeting. And I really only talked for like 45 seconds, but I would just get so nervous and say, it's not worth it. What am I doing? It felt like I had a setback every Thursday because that was the day that I would do my BNI meetings and tell myself, you're not going to die from talking about yourself for 45 seconds in front of people. So that was really hard to get past, is the fear of speaking in front of people. I don't think it's very uncommon for a lot of bookkeepers and accountants to feel nervous to talk in front of people, especially about yourself. You have to portray a sense of authority, and I know what I'm talking about. And when you get in front of people, in the beginning, it was terrible. I felt like I talked like a tiny little mouse, and I wanted it to be over with. And sometimes I would forget to even say the name of my company. I would just say, I'm Ashely and I do accounting stuff. And then that's it. And it was not good. But it got better because I was doing it every week. And then I did 10-minute presentations and I didn't die. So it ended up being a really good practice for me to give my elevator speech every single week for 45 seconds. So now I feel like I'm getting a lot better at it.
Wow. There really is no other way, is there? It's like not like you can take some sort of pill and become a good speaker or feel confident. I mean, well, maybe there are pills for that, but it's not like you're going to authentically, let's say, become confident and good at anything unless you take actions and do the work and go through that process. And you really, you've demonstrated this, like, we're going to write some letters, we're going to go do some lives, we're going to go to BNI, even though, I don't even know what I'm saying half the time or feeling self-conscious about it. But now that you've done it, you get better at it and you get better at it, and you start to have confidence, which is, you still may get nervous and you may have those sorts of feelings, but you can actually perform.
Right. And it's crazy because the first live I ever did, I was in my closet in my room because I was so nervous. that my family would like pop in and say, hey, while I'm on live. And at the time I thought that was the worst thing that could happen. And now when I do lives, if my little one pops in, it's not the worst thing. It's actually really cute. And he's like, hey, and he like does this because he's so used to seeing me on a camera. And it felt like, wow, I started in a closet and now I have a really cool microphone. Now I have a ring light. You know, you start to get your bearings on it and realize the things that you thought would bring you down are actually the things that people remember. You know, I've had to do lives. I say had to. I've done lives in Target. I've done lives in the car when we're going out of town. I've done lives in the kitchen while I'm cooking. And those are the ones that I've actually had several people say, man, I loved that one you did in the kitchen. It was so funny. And those are the memorable ones, not the ones that are super well-versed. You know, the ones that look like you're reading from notes the entire time. People don't remember that. And same with the BNI speaking every single week. The ones that I ran through my script and I'm reading my script, you know, they're like, oh, okay, that's great. But the ones that I'm like, hey, here I am. I'm going to look kind of crazy, but I want you to remember it. It's like you have to go through the uncomfortable for it to get better, which is unfortunate, but that's kind of what you had to go through to get better at it.
Absolutely. That really is the theme, is just do something and keep doing it and you'll get better at it. And you've been doing these things, which I think is fantastic. What an inspiring conversation with Ashely. It was refreshing hearing her story. And in part 2 of our conversation, we'll cover the power of outsourcing, especially for busy female business owners with families. And with that, we wrap another episode of the Successful Bookkeeper Podcast. To learn more about today's wonderful guest and to get access to all sorts of valuable free business building resources, you can go to thesuccessfulbookkeeper.com. Until next time, goodbye.
You've been listening to The Successful Bookkeeper with Michael Palmer. For more information and to download the resources mentioned in this episode, please visit us at thesuccessfulbookkeeper.com. Thank you for listening.